Alright, I believe it should have started just now. Never done
Mhm.
a podcast before, so I'm going to do a neat little audio check. I removed the message to spectators thing so that there's nothing blocking up the screen, but it also took away the thing where it says that I'm live, so I need to check my YouTube channel real quick, make sure I'm on. Yeah, I'm good. And then we'll do a little audio check. I'll just use my headphones real quick.
All right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we sound fine. Alright, woohoo! Well, we might as well talk about what we're doing currently, or what I'm doing currently, about Hitman 2,
Mhm.
because I've been
What
playing
you're
it, and
doing?
I've been spoiler alert on that, but I'm kind of curious about like what you've noticed about it, and sort of some of the things that have kind of appealed to you more, because I know that you played Hitman 1 and you couldn't really get into it.
hmm Um, I'm not really sure to be honest. It's just like the maps, the way they're set. Uh, it's overall a smarter game, like with pretty much everything. And then they put the new disguise where you can disguise as someone who's like a cartoon character basically type thing. I don't know if you have reached these areas just yet.
Yeah, I don't know. Are you talking about the flamingo?
Yeah, but there's some other things too. But I'm not sure what it's called in English.
Hmm. Well, no worries. Yeah, there are some pretty outlandish ones, but I think the best point you made there was about the levels and how it feels kind of smarter.
A lot
Um,
smarter, yeah.
Hitman 2 feels to me like it was made for people that have played Hitman 1 and wanted like bigger and better kind of. So I feel like a lot of the levels have been not only larger in scale, but also just kind of. Oh, sorry, I'm bumping my mic here. They've been larger in scale and I'd say maybe a little higher in quality in some cases.
Hmm. Uh, I noticed that the frame rates are a bit better as well. And I like they added the sense to the mirrors. They were dead before. Nobody can actually see you from the mirror, like if you were behind them. So it's cool. They added that.
Yeah, I actually I figured out a way around it too. Um, I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but if you overflow a sink, I'm actually gonna do it on video right here. I know you can't see it, but
Mhm.
if you overflow a sink, they'll go in there, and you can't go behind them yet. But like when they go down to mop it up, it still gives you an opportunity to kill them in front of the mirror because they're looking at the ground.
Hmm.
You just have to
But
be more patient.
would there be a possibility where, for example, you'd use the sink as a distraction, and there would be a mirror, and they're trying to like turn it off? Would they actually see you or
Well,
not?
that's what I'm saying. Like they'll turn the sink off and then they'll clean up the spill on the ground. And when they clean up the spill on the ground is when you can grab them.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also,
Awesome.
I've noticed pistol distractions are back, which is really cool. It's
What's
extremely
that?
useful. Um, well, originally in Hitman 1, you used to be able to use your pistol to shoot areas to distract people, and
Hmm.
they kind of got rid of that. Some of the updates kind of, and now in Hitman 2, they've kind of brought it back.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they had taken it out, and a lot of people had issue with that because it was ruining like speed runs for some people.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you can use that even on the the new mode that they added, the sniper assassin.
Hmm.
I thought that was kind of funny because the way they move, like, like you would shoot, and then they would go to check on the bullet. Like, oh yeah, it's just happy days, not caring about that it's actual bullet. You're just gonna check anyway, and then you
Yeah.
end up killing it. That's kind of funny to me.
Yeah, it's funny that they don't notice the bullet hole. Like they'll notice the sometimes they'll notice the impact. It's pretty rare, but they always notice
Hmm.
or they don't ever notice the hole, is what I was gonna say, which is really
Yeah,
strange.
yeah, exactly.
I guess that would be hard to program though.
For them to notice the hole.
Yeah,
I don't think it's hard, but I think it will ruin the experience.
probably.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah, I feel like it might be too punishing if they did that.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be a little complicated to deal with.
Mm.
But anyway, I think overall, man, I think this game is kind of an improvement over Hitman 1. I mean,
Mm.
I didn't even really see how you could argue with that. I mean, not only have they included Hitman 1 in it, but they've added new mechanics to the first one. So not only is it literally an improvement on the Hitman formula, kind of, but it's an improvement on Hitman 1 as well, even though it's a separate
Yeah,
game.
yeah, exactly.
I think it's really cool.
I actually, I had, uh, I had a conversation with one of the developers. I asked
Really?
them a question and they answered me back. Yeah,
Hmm.
I contacted them on Twitter, asking some questions. It started with, like me complaining about not being able to access the legacy pack,
It
and
always
then
starts
kind
with
of
a
a
complaint.
conversation started from there. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But they were really nice about it, really
That's cool.
supportive. They didn't
Who
say
who
anything.
was it? Was it Travis? I
I'm not
believe
sure. I can
I may
I
have had that
can check, but
conversation.
I'm not really sure. I have a short memory of remembering people.
Oh yeah, no, that's
But it
fine.
was yeah, it wasn't the main account. It
Hmm.
was like his
Like a
personal
developer account?
account. Yeah, yeah, it was like his personal account.
Hmm. Yeah, it may have been. I know there's a few that are really active, but the one that I see the most is Travis. He's really active on like some of the Hitman forums and stuff. Like I believe there's a website
Mhm.
called Hitman Forum, and there's also a Hitman Forum on Reddit, which is pretty cool. I believe I'm a part of like most of the Hitman communities. And the ones that I'm not a part of, I'm more of like I kind of linger on there, you know? Like I look around, but I don't really have an account or anything.
Um, Honestly, the only reason that I would use Twitter personally is for the Hitman, see the new updates and new things. And you can actually subscribe to their email thing, and they would send you all the news. But I'd rather to have it in like a quick access type thing, like all the updates and everything. So it's on Twitter, so it's better that way.
Yeah, I believe I'm connected to a few things like that on Twitter. Basically, my Twitter is dedicated to like the channel and also
Hmm.
to like following game developers and stuff, so I can kind of keep an eye on what they're doing. Like I'm following Lauren S. Hisrich as well, who's doing like a lot of the writing for Netflix's Witcher show. So I'm kind
Hmm.
of keeping tabs on that. I'm a little bit worried about it, but I don't know. I'm sure it'll be fine.
What are you worried about?
Oh, just the Netflix Witcher show?
Yeah.
Because I'm not worried for like the reasons that some people are worried. I'm just worried because I really enjoy the books and the games, and I'm really worried that they won't get either feel right.
Um, I mean, it all depends honestly on the publishers as well, because these are the ones who would provide the budget.
Yeah.
So if they put enough money on it, then I think it's going to be a success. But it's really hard to predict that just yet because like uh, game wise, The Witcher is pretty expensive,
Hmm.
really expensive in fact as a game, especially that it comes from a developer that's almost unknown at the time. Despite the fact that the first two games were kind of great enough to have an exposure, but they still like they're independent developer. They didn't have anything, pretty much. So if they put enough budget, like movie-wise or series-wise budget, I think it's going to be a success. It really depends on the actors too.
Yeah, probably. It
Hmm.
probably will be a success, but actors are kind of the part that I'm worried about.
Mm.
Anyway, back to Hitman before I forget. I was gonna say a few more things about it. Like,
Hmm.
I've noticed there have been some like really cool ideas, and this is something that I've been noticing a lot from IO in recent years.
Hmm.
Like in the first game, they came up with some really cool concepts. For example, like Hokkaido in that mission is supposed to be sort of like the ultimate test, right? Because the disguise system is completely different, right? Every disguise has a different access level, so your disguise is your key card for the different doors and rooms and stuff. And not only that, but you weren't allowed to have a starting loadout, so you came in with no weapons and you only had what was on the map, and you couldn't get through doors without certain disguises. So it was a really cool take on the Hitman formula. And I've noticed that they've been doing
Hmm.
that more and more every time since then. Like for example, in the Patient Zero campaign for Hitman 1, they did one level, it was the last level, where you have to like take out Patient Zero, who is basically
Hmm.
the guy that has like the original virus. And then sort of like if you don't take him out fast enough, he'll end up affecting other people at the whatever it's called, the medical facility, and
Hmm.
they'll become infected. So like the longer you wait, the more people are infected and the more of them become targets. So it becomes an interesting like take on the whole like Hitman formula because instead of trying to like go in and kill one target or whatever,
Hmm.
however long it may take, you're sort of on a time crunch to take out one before you have to take out another. Because the longer you wait, the harder your mission becomes. So I thought that was really cool. And then with Hitman 2, they've done that kind of stuff again. Um, like for example, in Mumbai, they put one of the targets as an unidentified person. So you have to like look through the crowd and try to identify him, which is really cool.
That sounds pretty hard, actually.
Yeah, there are a few issues with it that make it easier than it should be. Like, for example, there's one place in the map where the target always appears, regardless of who he is, and he always appears at that specific time. So if you have the time up on the screen like I do, you can actually you can just stand there and wait for him. So it's I don't know, it's
But
sort of flawed.
how would you be able to tell that he's the one that you're looking for?
Uh,
That's the
so
question.
he actually walks slightly faster. That's how you tell. So you can kind of use your instinct or whatever, and you'll see him walking faster than the other guys. I know it sounds silly or whatever, and that's not a whole lot of detail, but it's 100% consistent, which makes it easy if you know what you're doing. But anyway,
Hmm.
my point is that like as they make more levels and stuff, they seem to be toying with like clever ideas more. Each level kind of has its own gimmick. Um, there's another cool one actually, back to Hitman 1, where they made it so that you can have basically, I believe, five targets instead of four, which was the original number of
Mm-hmm.
like maximum targets. It was, I believe it was when the Game of the Year edition came out. They added an escalation that had like 5 or 6 targets.
Wait,
And
6 targets at a time?
yeah, like all at once.
Oh God, no, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was in Marrakesh, I believe. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Marrakesh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it was at the nighttime version of the map. I don't remember what it's called.
Is that with the Game of the Year thing? Because I believe they change everything.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, so the Game of the Year thing came with like 3 different suits. I believe it was the cowboy suit, the clown suit, and the raven suit. And each one had like a different escalation tied to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that one had the raven suit.
Hmm. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to ask a question. This might be off topic, but
Yeah, no, that's fine.
what's what's the point of purchasing the gold edition of the second Hitman? Like, I don't really understand what they've been offering, but I haven't gotten anything just yet, and they haven't
Okay,
really talked about it either.
so if I remember correctly, the gold edition of Hitman 2 includes both expansions like when they come out.
Mm-hmm.
And it also includes a few other things. I don't remember what it was. I'll look it up for you real quick so I'm not telling you anything inaccurate.
Okay,
But
but would it cover the Game of the Year slash complete game edition type thing, or is it just like, gold edition? Like it doesn't really cover up season pass or anything like that, or DLCs.
what do you mean? Like it covers the future expansions and it
Like everything pretty much, right?
yeah, I mean as far as I know it's an everything included kind of package. I mean, we'll see how that goes because I know with Hitman 1 there was a problem with that where people would buy the game and then they'd be like, "Wait, this it says it was a complete version and now it's not," because they added more stuff later.
Hmm.
So we'll see how that goes, but so far it seems to be a complete package. Um,
Hmm.
Hitman 2 Gold Edition. Let me look at what that is real quick so I can give you an accurate description.
All right.
Um,
You had a comment earlier.
yeah, what was that? Oh, you mean on the video?
Hmm.
Yeah, I know. You're just saying hello. I saw it on my phone or whatever, but we're not really here to talk to him or to not talk to him. I'm sorry, to talk to them right now because the idea is you're supposed to be able to listen to this back and it should be like a coherent kind of thing. I mean, we're not great at it yet, but I feel like with enough practice and enough of these podcasts and stuff, I feel
Yeah,
like
for
it'll make a
sure.
lot more sense. I think I'll start releasing most of these as like normal videos because I want to continue to do this because this is a type of content that I really like. Like when I'm out walking and stuff, or when I'm out and I'm on my way to work or I'm on my break, I like to listen to podcasts a lot. I don't know why.
Hmm.
I just like listening to a few people talk about interesting topics. So I figured I'd try it. I'm not great at it, but I could talk my butt off. So, here I am. And
Hmm.
hopefully it doesn't go terribly.
You know what this reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of since you said it's the you like to listen to podcasts when you go out and stuff. I was
Yeah.
like, it's kind of like an SMR. We're so quiet, like we have
Oh, yeah.
quiet voices, kind of like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Imagine, actually, you should consider the possibility of doing SMR in the future. Might be good.
yeah, I could. I could. I'd need a better microphone and stuff. Honestly, I
For
should have a
sure.
better microphone for this, but I mean, whatever.
I mean, your mic is pretty good. It's
Yeah.
actually very clear.
So basically, I believe
Hmm.
so for Gold Edition, we get the Executive Pack, which includes the ICA 19 Black Baller pistol, which I believe is the actual, it's called a Black Lily now. And then we have the
Hmm.
Italian black leather briefcase. And then we have the first expansion and the second expansion included. So it says includes new location, missions, sniper map, outfits, and weapons. So it's going to have a new location, a new sniper location, um, maybe a mission or two there, and then it's going to come with new outfits and weapons. And then the second one is the same thing. So we're going to have like several new locations and sniper maps and outfits and weapons. And then I believe that's it. I believe that's what's included in it. So we get expansion 1 and expansion 2 and the executive pack. And then if you already owned Hitman 1, you get the legacy pack for free, which basically includes all of Hitman 1, including the Game of the Year stuff if you owned it.
Hmm.
So like I still have all the Game of the Year missions and I still have the outfits for it. I still have the cowboy outfit and the other one and all that.
By the way, what about the elusive target? I believe there is something you earn if you complete it.
Um, yeah, I mean you unlock foods, but I think there's
What
something
is it?
else. I don't remember. Oh, well, I mean
Did you
there's
say
this
food?
no suits. Not not food.
I was like, all right, we're eating now.
Yeah, no, not at all. I wish, man, but I already ate enough today. I don't need more. Ugh, that'd not be helpful.
All right.
But I don't. So, sort of moving on from Hitman, but not really. I, I figure I could kind of transition into like talk about our favorite games because Hitman is not only one of my favorite games. It's actually in my top 10 like favorite game series ever. And honestly, I think for my top 5, I would probably pick let's see. Dark Souls would be number 1. Hitman would probably be number 2. Um, and then Elder Scrolls, and then oh gosh, it gets harder like the further in you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say probably maybe Uncharted. I know that one's kind of
Uncharted.
iffy, but like I've never played a bad Uncharted game, and I feel like that one kind of belongs there. And then I don't know, man. I don't know what my fifth would be. I really don't. I mean, I've played so many games. I can't hardly remember them all. Um, I'm at the point now where my games library is like stupid big, and I just don't even remember half of them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're kind of the same because you have like even more than I do.
Yeah, for sure. It must
Oh yeah,
still would be hard to remember.
like oh no 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 wait. I'm sorry. Splinter Cell is in one of my top favorites. Um, I really 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 want to put a few other games in there. Like Assassin's Creed is probably up there because I've
Mm-hmm.
played almost all
Which
of
one
them.
though? Series in general?
Yeah, just as a series. But they're all good at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I feel like it's a pretty good series overall.
So they're all equal to you?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I was like wondering, like,
yeah,
you
no.
said just Assassin's Creed.
Well,
So,
I'd say I haven't played Odyssey or whatever, but I'd say from the ones that I've played, um, Origins and 2 are probably the best.
hmm. What about Black Flag? Have you played it?
Oh yeah, Black Flag I'd put up there too. Um, I really enjoyed that one. In fact, I enjoyed it so much that I would listen to like the sea shanties and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like just when I when I wasn't playing the game.
Damn.
Yeah, so I was listening to like people sing pirate music for no reason because I was so into it.
I I've never played it.
Hmm.
Actually, no, I played it. I did play it. I forgot. I played on the Xbox.
Really?
Yeah, but I didn't like finish it or anything. So,
Hmm.
you know.
You know, I was thinking of this earlier. I had a question for you that was like even more interesting than this last one or whatever. It was sort of like, so if you could take any game or game series and you could get a sequel for it, what would you choose right now? Say you have 3 picks for what you could have a sequel to.
3 picks
Yeah, what would those 3
of
be?
a favorite series?
No, not a favorite series, but like something that you would like to see more of. So like it could be something real indie, it could be something really popular. Just something that you would want like another one of.
Hmm. I don't know, dude. That's actually hard. Never thought about that.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you mine just as an example.
Sure.
Um, there's a real cool Indonesian horror game. I'm pretty sure you said you've played it. Dreadout. I would love to
Oh
have
yeah, I played that
Dreadout 2.
one. Hmm.
If that ever came out, I would play the heck out of it. I would buy it instantly. I really liked Dreadout 1. It had a lot of charm to it.
Hmm.
And it kind of had some like aspects of Fatal Frame going on with it too, which is another game that I like, so I was kind of
The
down for
Dreadout
it.
game.
Yeah, remember because it's like it was kind of a modern take on like Fatal Frame, just because it
Hmm.
had the whole like same camera system of like defeating ghosts by taking pictures of them and stuff. Except it was like with a modern smartphone, so it was pretty cool. And I really genuinely believe that if they could make a second one, and especially if they could up the budget a little bit, like if they could get some more help and support,
Hmm.
I believe they could make a fantastic sequel to that.
On the Dreadout game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not a game that needs a sequel, but it's a game that like deserves a sequel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if it got one, I think a lot of people would be excited about it.
Um. I'm really trying to focus, but I'm also playing a game right now.
No,
And
you're
I've
fine.
been actually killing people at the same time, surprisingly, playing Fortnite.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Well, my opinion on Dreadout, it kind of reminds me of Fatal Frame. I think it uses kind of like the same formula of gameplay,
Yeah,
and
it
you
does.
also can use I believe you can use a camera or something like that, right?
You basically just like restated what I said a minute ago, but yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. No, no worries, man. But yeah, it's basically just like a lot of spookiness with the ability to kind of combat the ghosts with a camera, kind of like Fatal Frame. So yeah, I mean, you're right. It's very,
Hmm.
very similar. like mechanic wise.
I didn't play it much. I played it on PC. I believe it's exclusive to PC, isn't
I don't remember. I think it is. I believe
it?
I.
Hmm.
Well, no, I mean, it's on Mac too because I remember playing it on my school computer. I went to a technology school and they gave us Macs to use for free. So um,
But yeah, Mac is a computer. So I was
yeah,
like PC, didn't say Windows. Um,
yeah. Well, I mean, PC is considered to be different though. I believe, right?
I'm not sure.
Because I believe,
I think it's the same thing. I think we sound dumb right now, so let's just skip that.
yeah. I don't know. Screw it. I'm not an expert.
Hmm. So what else? I started playing so I would focus with you.
No, it's fine.
But the whole time we were talking, I was actually playing and killing a lot of people in the game. But every time I would play and focused and alone, I would die instantly.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I mean, I've been playing Hitman 2 the whole time, but I've kind of been like very poorly playing it. I'm just kind of goofing around, exploring while I'm
Hmm.
talking. So, I mean, I'm sure I've been like topic jumping like a madman, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
But yeah, so I had Dread out as one of my picks for like something that I'd like a sequel to. I'm trying to
Hmm.
think of what my others would be.
Wait, did you ask me a question before about if you would wish a game
Yeah,
to have a sequel?
yeah, that's basically what the question was. Yeah, like basically if
Okay,
you could
okay, my
pick
bad.
any three games or something to like have a sequel to, or that you could have more of, like what games would you choose? And that
Okay,
sort of my
okay,
first
but
pick was Dread Out.
question though.
Yeah, what's up?
Would, would the game has to be like a one game thing, or does like is it okay to choose a game that already have sequels but stopped?
It doesn't matter to me.
I couldn't hear you. Can you repeat?
Yeah, I said it doesn't matter to me. You could choose either.
Oh, okay. Well, I can actually think of a few.
Okay, yeah, go for
The
it.
first one would be Silent Hill.
Yeah,
Silent Hill is one
definitely.
of my favorite games of all time, and yeah, it's kind of sucks actually that it died, especially after they announced PT Silent Hills. That game was really nice. Of course, I do prefer the old Silent Hills games,
hmm
but it's still a very very great game if it would continue. And the second would be Castlevania. Castlevania is also one of my favorite games of all time. I actually did
Hmm.
grow playing that game. I didn't like the 3D one, the one on PlayStation 2 and
I,
3.
I don't think I ever saw that
I
one.
didn't like them that much. You never played Castlevania?
No, well, I mean, I've actually never played Castlevania just in general, but I
Hmm.
just meant like I've never even like heard of that 3D one.
Oh yeah, of course. There's actually multiple 3D ones.
Hmm,
It's like
that's cool.
it's like a first. Sorry, it's not exactly. It's not just 3D. It's a third person as well.
Huh.
So it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's actually pretty good. I played two of them on PS2, but they never reached the level that I had with the PS1 games, like Symphony of the Night, for example. That's easily one of the best games ever made. Uh, if you would have a conversation with someone that actually played uh, one of the originals of PlayStation 1, they would tell you that's in their list. It's actually a really great game. I still do play it even on the phone
Hmm.
to this day. And the third, I don't know actually. A third would be hard for me because I've always wanted the Devil May Cry, but they're making it already.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's true. I have to buy that eventually because I have games 1 through 4. I mean, I haven't even completed the first one. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you about that. Um, I'm definitely not like a veteran of the series or anything. I just own a bunch of them. But I'd love
okay.
to finish the series. So,
Um, this might sound like a terrible advice, but I would say play three. Three is the best one in this series,
huh.
and then play four, and then five. You don't have to play the first or the second, even though the stories still do continue. It's kind of like I don't know how to explain it, but I would suggest to play the third and then the fourth one, and then the fifth.
Huh.
Mhm.
That's cool.
So yeah, I think. Do you know a game called Kane and Lynch or something like that?
Yeah, wasn't it actually developed by IO? Isn't it the
Hmm.
same studio?
I love that game. I played it so much.
Huh.
I played it on PS3, I believe. It was such a good game. Oh, the third game that I would wish to have a sequel would be Sleeping Dogs. Every time I talk about Sleeping Dogs, everybody thinks I'm talking about Watch Dogs. Sleeping
Oh
Dogs
no,
is
I
just like GTA, but it's
I
in
know what you're
China.
talking about.
Yeah, that's such a good game.
I don't know. I
It's
played
really good.
I played a bit of it. I feel like Yakuza is kind of like Sleeping Dogs but better. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But like
Nah, that's
I I just I
continue.
I just couldn't get into like the open world of Sleeping Dogs. Like I like the other aspects of it or whatever, but the open world just felt like I don't know, it didn't feel right to me.
Well, here's the thing. Yakuza is not exactly an open world game. It
Yeah,
has the
that's
same
true.
areas. In every single Yakuza games, all of them have the same area almost. So it doesn't matter which one you play, they still have kind of the same, but
Oh,
like with,
really?
you know, updated graphics and yeah, this is why it's such a lovable series. People like it a lot
Hmm.
because of that. So yeah, what was I saying? Um, Yakuza is a really great game, and I'm such a big fan of the Yakuza series, especially Yakuza 0 is absolutely my favorite one. But I
Hmm.
don't think it's comparable to Sleeping Dogs at all.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm. Uh,
I just mean like the aesthetic and stuff. Like well, and sort of the combat in a way, because they're both kind of like a beat 'em up kind of combat, and they're both in that same sort of like setting with like the
hmm.
neon lights and all that. Like they have kind of a similar feel. I get that they're different games or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, to think about it, it's has that beat them up type combat.
Yeah.
You know, people approach you, beat them up, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and you can like grab items and stuff.
Exactly. The thing about Sleeping Dogs, though, the reason why it's such a great game, it's not just because it's like in China based. It's really beautiful, and the story is what makes it a great game. It's insane. It's just like the Yakuza, basically, when it comes to great story.
Hmm.
Yakuza, I think, Yakuza 0 probably the best story in the Yakuza games that I played. It's such a great game. But Sleeping Dogs, it's more personal than Yakuza. It doesn't like
Hmm.
gets you confused about, you know, it doesn't talk a lot about politics or religion or anything like that. It focuses more about the people that you see, the people you play with, you go on rides and all that.
Hmm.
So it's a
Like
very
how
personal
so?
game and the story is very rich. Hmm?
I said like how so?
Uh, like pretty much every single person that you see an
Hmm.
NPC, not the normal NPCs, but the NPCs, the kind of like the main character, but not main at the same time.
Hmm.
They all of them have a story, and you get to learn it. And there's so many cutscenes in the game that would kind of like teach you more about them, and you would kind of feel for them, you know. Like I know that it's not really comparable to Yakuza, but I feel like Yakuza kind of like that. You know, it doesn't show you that kind of thing. You don't really care about the side characters in Yakuza. You only care about the main ones
Yeah,
because they
I
have
sort
such a
of feel
great
that.
story.
I really like kind of the secondary character that's like his best friend or something originally. I don't remember his name at the moment because I'm terrible at remembering Japanese names especially.
Hmm.
But do you remember his name? It's
Is he a main character?
uh,
Playable one?
no, I don't know if he's playable because I'm not like super far into it, but I know that in the first one at least. Because I'm
Kiwami?
playing, yeah, I'm playing Kiwami right now, but
Oh,
he's the
that's...
um
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. That's his brother.
yeah, it's the one that like killed the guy that he took the bait for or whatever. Or no, that he took the
Oh,
blame
I'm not
for, I
sure.
mean.
Oh, yeah, that's his brother.
Oh,
I don't
okay, cool.
remember his name. His name is Nishiki, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, something like that.
Hmm. The playable characters, I think it's
Is it
Majima and Kiryu.
yeah, Kiryu is the one I'm thinking of that he like he's the main character. Majima is the isn't he the crazy one that like randomly attacks you?
Yeah, you'll get to see a better side of actually Majima in Zero, because Zero takes place before
Oh, that's cool.
Kiwami.
I actually really like him. He's funny.
This is not a spoiler, since if you actually have played the first one
Hmm.
as a first, it's not a spoiler, but he in the first, sorry, in Zero, he was a bad person, but then he became good. He became a good person. He has a heart and he feels for people.
Huh.
But then he would change completely and become the one that he is now in one. It's such a great game. It shows you a lot, like backstory of every character.
Huh. That's cool.
Mm. You should check it out. Actually, you should pick it up.
Yeah, I will definitely do that. Um, I
Have
forget what I
you
was gonna say.
have you finished Red Dead?
No, I've not finished Red Dead Redemption 2. It's really good,
Any
but
plans?
there's so much going on in it that I just have not finished it, to be honest. I mean, I really thoroughly enjoy it though, so.
Hmm. I think I'm 100 hours in, but still haven't finished it either. I'm at the last chapter though.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm nowhere near that far in. I've been like really taking my time with it.
Hmm.
That's another really good game to talk about is Red Dead Redemption 2. I feel like it's a
Hmm.
wonderful sequel, by the way.
It is for sure better than the first one.
In fact, I don't think I've ran into many sequels just as good.
Maybe Silent Hill and Resident Evil.
Yeah.
If you played the first ones, the second is a lot better than the first. It doesn't always happen, you know.
The dialogue is really funny in that game though. It's so bad. I love it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty old. 19 something, I think.
Yeah, no, but I mean it was bad for even like that time though. Like just because everybody would talk like, "Hello, how are you? I'm doing very well. How are you?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Very good." And then it was just like really funny.
But I know why. I'm not sure about this, but I think it's because Capcom at the time hired people that were in Japan
Hmm.
and they wanted them to speak and say the words that they have written in Japanese. So the dialogue was kind of like based on how it would be over there.
Hmm.
So it was kind of like the dialogue for the West was kind of bad. I think that's pretty much the reason why it was really
Hmm.
horrible. But if you hear it in Japanese, it wouldn't be as bad because they don't really focus on dialogue back then.
I guess that sort of makes sense, but I still think it's pretty funny.
It is, yeah. It's actually horrible. It's kind of laughable now. I can't really take it seriously if I play it. Still a good game though.
Yeah, yeah, still good. But I don't know. If we're gonna talk about sequels, though, I'd say probably my favorite sequel was let's see,
Hmm.
maybe like the Splinter Cell sequels because I feel like each one progressively got better. I mean, I'm not gonna say that about like Conviction and Blacklist and all that, but I think as far as the first three or four went, each one kind of got more interesting in a way. Like the original Splinter Cell things were like relatively limited. Things felt kind of stiff. And then it got a little bit more free in Pandora Tomorrow, in the sense that like there are a few more things added and a certain like new story elements and stuff to kind of keep it fresh and new
Mm.
like gameplay stuff. Like you could do a split jump, which was cool. It's kind of like a fake move thing or whatever though, because I mean, there's only really a couple places in the main campaign where you can actually use it, so the fact
Mm.
that it's added in doesn't really matter much. But it was still cool.
Oh wow.
And then in the third game, Chaos Theory, that's when things got really, really good. And they introduced a gun that could like disable electronics. So you could go into a
Hmm.
building and like disable the cameras temporarily, walk past them, and then you could like take out the lights with it for a second, so the lights would flicker off. People would investigate, but you would go through in the dark and no one would see you. And you could like blow out candles. You could climb on pipes and stuff and choke people out from them. There's all kinds of like
You
really really
can
cool details.
blow up candles.
Yeah, dude, you could blow out
Wow.
candles and shoot out any lights in the level. You could like whistle to attract the enemies. If there was like a
Oh.
tent, you could cut through the non-open side of the tent with your knife and enter through a different
Hmm.
side. Um, you could throw. I believe there's one mission in the snow where you could throw a snowball. That may have been double agent though. I don't remember. And
Oh, so each level has its tactics and stuff that you need to follow in order to
uh,
finish it.
not really. It's sort of like Hitman in a way because even though you're given a mission, you're not really told how to do it necessarily. Like you're told to do certain things, but as far as like how you go about it, you don't have to like kill specific guards or anything like that. Basically, you only have like main targets and intel and stuff that you have to get. So like if
Mm.
the game tells you to go into a place and you're going after one target, you can kill like every guard there or whatever. And I mean, it'll change your mission rating a little bit, but like it won't severely affect you. But you can also
Mm.
do it and pacify people, or you could do it and not touch anybody. A lot of the missions were ghostable, meaning that like you could walk through the entire thing without being seen or touching anyone except the target. And some of them didn't even have targets. Like it's not like Hitman where like every level has a target.
Mm.
Um, a
But
lot of
are
them
there
you just had to
missions
like go
or
through.
objectives?
Yeah, yeah, there are like objectives and stuff because it's a proper stealth game, right? Like you're not always trying to assassinate somebody, but often there will be someone to shoot at, you know.
Hmm, makes sense.
But it was so cool though because they added so many details. Like for example, there's this one level where they have these like really fancy windows and stuff where they become like transparent if you use a certain thing, and then they become like opaque if you do it again. so you can change whether or not you can see through them. And
Mhm.
there's just a really, really cool part on that where you can use your gun to enable or disable the electronics. So you can like make all the windows turn solid color so no one can see in using your gun, and then you can like take somebody out, hide his body, and then make them all visible again. And I don't know, it was just super, super
Visible.
cool. Yeah, like
Is it a realistic game or
yeah, it is.
how is it like? Because I'm not really familiar with
Yeah,
Splinter Cell.
you should. I mean, I'm having trouble explaining it because it's been a long time since I've played it, but I do remember a lot of
Mhm.
cool features from it. And I'm kind of doing my best to explain it, but honestly, what I would recommend doing is just watching some gameplay of it, or just going out and buying it and trying it yourself.
It's not on the what is it called? It's not on the PS4. It's on the 3 and Xbox, right? And PC.
Actually, no, it's older than that. It's for like the original Xbox and the PS2. But it actually looks good enough to be a
Oh.
PS3 game.
Hmm.
And I believe it got re-released under like an HD trilogy on the 360 and PS3, kind of like the Hitman trilogy did. So yeah, I don't know. It was really cool, but
Um,
that is probably the best stealth game I've ever played, like bar none. Even Hitman like just doesn't feel the same. And I don't mean that to say that Hitman's bad or whatever, but Hitman's like a completely different type of stealth game.
hmm.
For like a typical stealth game, right, where you're sneaking around in the shadows and stuff, I think Splinter Cell Chaos Theory is the absolute pinnacle of that. I've never played one better, and I don't think I probably will. And I mean, that's
Um,
not to be like super nostalgic about it or whatever. I'm just giving you like an honest opinion. Like I've never played another stealth game that was as good,
yeah,
and there
yeah,
probably won't
that's
be one for a
understandable.
while.
But I also want to know your opinion on what is it called? Metal Gear. What do you think of Metal Gear? Because I
Oh,
know there's a lot of people that like it and a lot of people that hate it.
I mean, Metal
But
Gear
as
is
a stealth
awesome. Um, I don't know about as a stealth game. I mean, I think it's good. I'm not the best person to speak about it though because I've only played like the original and the fifth one.
game.
So I have like a lot of gaps missing in my Metal Gear knowledge. But as far as I know, man, it's pretty good. I I
Hmm.
mean they're good games. I
Not
mainly
your type of
played.
game.
No, I mean they are or whatever. I just haven't played very many of them.
Hmm.
I've played Thief though, and I've played Splinter Cell, and I've played um I'm trying to remember what else. There are a bunch of stealth games out there, man. Let's see.
Do you have Thief on 4? It's always on sale, by the way. Sometimes it goes for $2. That's
Um,
crazy to me.
I don't have it on that system, but I have it on the one before because it's actually like a cross-generation game. I don't like it. It's pretty bad. Like,
Oh no.
no, I mean, I don't want to sound mean or whatever, but as a Thief game, dude, it's pretty trash. I'm sorry. Like, it's not a bad game, but there's a lot of cringy aspects to it, and the freedom is very limited. And I just don't really like it as an overall product. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. Especially
But you
after having
haven't
played one of
played
the
it.
older. Yeah, no, I have. Like I said, I own it.
Oh. Oh, okay, okay. I played it.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. The AI is kind of dumb, but overall as a game, it's pretty good. Especially that if you can actually afford it for $2 or $3 on sale. There's no complaining, really.
yeah. I mean, it's not a bad game, but if you play like one of the older Thief games, right, and then you go straight into that, you're not gonna like it, most likely. Because it feels like a cheap
Hmm.
knockoff. It feels like basically like somebody tried to like pretend to be a thief game.
Okay, okay.
Kind of like how Absolution, even though it's a good game, it just feels like a pretend like Hitman roleplay game.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. It feels a lot different than any Hitman ever made.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Very cinematic.
it's like the game equivalent of like the Hitman movies, where everything's really over the top and the story's like dramatic, even though nobody really came for that. You know what I mean? Like Absolution is super fun, don't get me wrong, but I think the new Thief game and Hitman Absolution are both good examples of like games in a series that aren't bad games, but because they're in that series are totally hated. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because they just don't fit right. They have most of the mechanics and stuff, but there's just something weird and wrong and off about them, and that's why people just don't like them as a part of the series.
Okay, so here's my observation
Hmm.
uh, on the idea that some older games, when they create, for example, a newer game, like a sequel to it,
Hmm.
why it doesn't succeed. I think the main reason is because, like, as gamers or as a gaming community,
Hmm.
by the day you have more expectations on the games that you've already played before. You expect an improvement that is more than what it has been. For example, like let's say Thief, the first one, was a really great game.
Hmm.
They would want something more than just that because they could easily play the old ones if that's the case. Like they don't want to pay, for
I don't
example, like
know.
$60 for a game that's kind of the same. So they would have more expectations, but even though the game do deliver as a good game, but not as a Thief game. And that's the thing. I think that's why people would be like, very picky about it. Hey, it's not good, it's not good. Because I heard a lot of trash talk about it. I personally think it's a good game. Like,
I,
even as a story, it actually has a really good story.
I don't think that's really the problem, man. I don't think it's like I don't think it's that it needs to be better, right? I think it just needs to be as good at least. Right. So, and the reason that some of these games are considered not to be, um, like one big thing that they keep doing that's a huge mistake, right? So if you have a really long running series, don't change the main voice actor, and don't change like a whole bunch of stuff about the plot, right? So if you have like a whole game series that all makes sense together, don't make another one that's like a reboot if you don't need to. You know what I mean?
Hmm,
And like the big thing that made a lot of people mad with one of the later Splinter Cell games, I believe it was Blacklist, was that the original voice actor, Michael Ironside, was no longer the voice actor. So they had some like
hmm,
way younger guy um, talking in there. So like sort of the things that make a lot of gamers mad is inconsistencies, right? So I don't think it's necessarily like an issue of, oh, it's not a good game. It's an issue of like this is not the game we wanted it to be because we have this, long-standing series that is always this way, and then you change it, and not to improve it, but just to change it. You know what I
That's
mean?
a good
So,
point.
so like if you change the voice actor, or you change something about the story that was like a crucial element, or you change like the mechanics and get rid of something that people really liked, like people are gonna be mad, right? Or
For
like
sure.
like in Hitman's case, if you make the disguise system kind of iffy by putting in this weird thing where you can just tilt your head down and people won't notice you. Like it's so goofy that everybody's just going to be like, "Really? This is silly." You know? And then on top of
Hmm,
that, you have like the over the top story stuff that nobody really asked for because the story was
hmm.
never the main point. Um just stuff like that
Hitman
like
Absolution.
yeah, just stuff like that tends to tick people off. And I think the thing with Thief was more so that it was just like it felt like a Thief knockoff, right? Because they changed the voice actor. They took away a lot of freedom, made it a little bit more linear, and just like certain features that people expected were missing, and then other ones weren't done very well. And it just like the story stuff too just felt really off. It sort of feels like when a movie studio makes like a bad movie version of something that you really like an Assassin's Creed movie or like a Doom movie.
Hmm.
That's kind of what it's like in video game form. It's basically like the people trying to do something new but really failing because they're trying too hard to do something new. I think a lot of times gamers don't really want something new. They just want small improvements on things that they already have.
Hmm.
Because I don't think it comes down to like graphics or like anything like that. I think it comes down more to like how well performed is every aspect of this game. That's why a lot of older games hold up better. It's not nostalgia. It's more so the fact that they were focusing on less things, so they did more things perfectly. Um, like for example, if you go back and play, I'll use Spyro as an example because the Reignited trilogy just came out. If you go back and play the old Spyro games and stuff, they still feel good because there are only like four or five mechanics, right? You jump, you breathe fire, you swim, and maybe you climb, and that's like it. And that's really not hard to get right if that's like all you have. So the fact that you don't have that many things and everything's really well polished, it just makes everything feel really smooth. So I feel like it's not a problem of like what you're doing, it's a matter of like how well you do it. So if you have a game that's all about stealth and like avoiding AI and stuff, your AI should be really good. That should be like a main focus of your game.
Hmm. Um,
That's why a lot of open world games now are kind of trash, is because they focus too much on like environments and then don't put anything in them.
you said many good points, but a few that I would have to disagree with. I
Hmm.
think I think gamers do expect more because people are picky now. Like nowadays, they're so picky, especially that everybody can easily be satisfied playing an online game, for example. There's a lot of people who actually switch completely to online games only.
Yeah.
So, for imagine Spyro, for example. Imagine they did a remaster to Spyro, not a remake. Everybody would trash talk them, you know? Everybody would be like, "Hey, like, why did you do this and do that? You could have made a new Spyro instead of making a remaster." Because not a lot of people would ask for a remaster, you know? Despite the fact that Spyro was a really good game, like I'm talking about the original, was really a good game. But there's a
Hmm.
lot of people who wouldn't want a remaster. They
Yeah.
would want a new game. So I think for games to stay the same just because the fans wants them to be that way, the vision would die that
Oh
way.
yeah, no,
Because
I
the
I totally get
developers,
it.
yeah. So I feel like the developers had an idea in their head, but and they did exactly how they wanted the idea to be, but it just didn't do very well by the fans. You know, the fans expected something kind of similar.
Yeah, it's just a case of like expectations versus reality, right? And there are good examples of it too. For example, Assassin's Creed Origins is a great example of taking something that people are used to, completely changing the mechanics, and still having it turn out to be a game that people love, right? So it doesn't
Mhm.
always have to go bad, but you have to be careful about what changes you make and why you make them. And
But
when a game feels low effort, there's nothing more insulting than that. And that's how
for sure,
Thief
but
feels.
here's my idea about Assassin's Creed. I think there's a lot of people that actually hated Origins. They thought it was a really good game, but not an
Hmm.
Assassin's Creed game. And there's a lot of people that still say this thing. They would say Assassin's Creed Odyssey, for example, or uh, what's the other one?
Um,
Origins. They would say
yeah,
that they are really bad
Origins.
games, no matter what. Uh, it's because it kind of left the formula of how Assassin's Creed games were. like
Hmm.
Assassin's Creed 2, 4. All of them were kind of big. It's not exactly open world, but it did
Yeah.
offer something that's kind of linear, which
But
some
it
people
was
really like.
generally well received, though, I believe.
For sure. I do believe so, but me personally, I would also say the same thing about Assassin's Creed. I think that Origins was such a great game. It's actually one of my favorite games, but
Hmm.
I don't feel like it's Assassin's Creed anymore. You know, I
Yeah,
feel like
I
it's
mean,
lost that thing about it.
I would agree, but I think there is a big distinction there, though, right? Because
Mm.
um, I feel like in that case, though, like I said, it was the reviews and stuff were mostly positive, and sort of the
Mm.
that like that's the reason why there's a big disconnect between a game like that and a game like Thief, is the reviews for Thief were mostly negative, right? Because it wasn't a case of them trying something new that worked but just didn't feel the same. It was more of a case of them trying something new that like didn't work at all, and the rest of it didn't feel the same enough for anybody to enjoy it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know that people did enjoy it to some degree, and it's not a terrible game, and there's some redeeming qualities to it. And I'm not trying to just hate on it, but I'm trying to use it as an example of like when when developers kind of go too far. And I
Mm.
feel like Hitman Absolution is not as good of an example because that turned out to be still a pretty darn good game. Like, that one's at least really fun to play. Personally, I don't think the new Thief game is very fun to play. I think that one is a much bigger failure overall. And
Mm.
I know that comes down to personal opinion or whatever, right? But it just there's so many things wrong with it. Like the stealth system, like the AI is not that great. Um, Garrett just feels like a completely different character. There's some needless side characters in there that no one asked for that have like way too much story drama going on, and there's just a lot of like unwanted things. Kind
Mm.
of like I think Battlefield 5 is a good example too. I'm sure Battlefield 5 is a great game. I haven't bought it yet or anything. I may later down the line. Um, but I think that's another good example of like people expecting your game to be a certain way because you've basically implied that it would be, and then you just
Mm.
like totally screw over your fan base. And what I mean by that is sort of they had like the expectation that they were going to make a really realistic like World War II game, you know, as a follow up to Battlefield 1, because Battlefield 1 was well received and, you know, for the most part very realistic. But then
Mm.
the first thing that they do in the trailer is like fill it with stuff that people have already complained about in other games, where like one of the highlights of the trailer was like some dude with a katana on his back, and then like a woman with like no arm and like a prosthetic arm in its place.
Oh yeah, yeah. Seen that
And
one.
people were complaining about it not being realistic and stuff. And then they did like they were just really rude to the fan base, which is really weird. Cause like the problem is not it's not like a sexism issue, right? Like if you tell somebody that you're gonna make a World War II game and make it realistic, they're gonna be like, okay, so what would you normally see if you look back at like say a historical documentary on World War II, right? It's gonna be depending on the side you're looking at, it's probably gonna be mostly dudes, right? So if you have
Mm-hmm.
like a female as a playable character, which that's a good thing overall, right? Because you get to let girls play as girls if they want to, or guys or whatever, you know. So I mean, it gives an option there. But for the people that want historical accuracy, it becomes a problem, right? Because you only have like five character classes to choose from. So when you start playing and like half the people choose a girl, half the people you're looking at on the battlefield are this weird girl with a prosthetic arm. You know what I mean? And then your World War II
Yeah.
game starts to look really weird and out of place and not at all like a World War II game. And that's sort of where people have an issue. And the fact that like they often don't think about these things that way and they just immediately jump to the worst conclusion and start attacking the fan base really just creates a lot of like hostility both ways, right? The issue is never
For
that
sure.
like people didn't want girls to be able to play or that they didn't want to be able to play as one. It's just that like they wanted a sort of like realistic video game take on World War II.
Well, here's the thing. I think it's. You said that it can be an insultant to the fan base,
Mhm.
and they would not make it accurate.
Yeah.
I think it's an insult to history itself because they kind of like set in themselves saying, "Hey, well, we're gonna make a realistic World War II game," but
Mhm.
then they're changing it completely however they want, and they say, "Oh, well, we have to kind of do these things by the name of entertainment or for that reason." I think it
Yeah.
doesn't go that way at all, and it never works, and nobody has ever asked for that, you know. Here's the thing, like I never understood when companies do that. When they do
Mhm.
something nobody wants, you know? Especially when it comes to history, you can never change history. Like I never understood. And I did my research on these things and eh, they put the female, she was a British
Mhm.
and she the one with the weird arm, the metal arm, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So they put her over there, and I think at the time they did not have that type of thing to begin with. So here's the first thing: they did not have that kind of arm back then. And then the second thing, they had a female that was fighting for the British Army,
Mhm.
which historically that wasn't a thing. The only females that actually fought in World War II were the Russians and the Polish and these people. So they basically just wanted to do something to have something equal, which did not
Mhm.
work because that's not, history basically accurate in history. So this is what people were really upset about. And the katana, it's the reason why they did that is because, Japan had to do something in the
Mhm.
war. So they were like, "Oh, let's take the inspiration from that and have a katana with a guy that actually wasn't even Asian," and
Yeah.
that did the backlash.
It was a bad idea. I think the sort of an important distinction to make, right, is that having girls and dudes with katanas and stuff are like both perfectly fine in a World War II game. Um, but the point that made it an issue in that case was that they said it was going to be realistic, basically, or at least they let that be the implication and didn't do anything about it.
Hmm.
So like if you say that your game is going to be like a dark atmospheric stealth game about like I don't know, cheeseburgers. Let's go with the really stupid example.
Okay.
Then you would expect that there would be burgers in the game. You would expect it to be kind of dark and moody, and you would expect that atmosphere. You wouldn't expect
Mm.
like a game about hamburgers with no cheese and like medium dark atmosphere and like I'm making like the worst analogy ever because I'm terrible at this. But the point is that like you're taking people's expectations, agreeing that those things are going to be included, and then just not at all doing it, or doing like a different take on it. Um, like I'd love to have choice of gender in games and stuff, and I think that's really cool. And I'd love to play with the katana in a game like that. But the reason that
In a
people are
game like
mad, well,
Battlefield.
yeah, in a game like Battlefield, I think it would be cool. But the reason that people are mad is because they sort of implied that there wouldn't be anything weird like that, that there wouldn't be anything that feels out of place. You know,
Hmm.
so when your trailer is like crazy music that doesn't fit the era and like mainly features these characters that nobody wanted, people are going to blow that out of proportion, right? People are going to look at that and be like, oh no, this is what the game is about, you know, like before they even see gameplay and stuff. It's about impressions, right? And they started off on the wrong foot by showing the things that they should have already known would make people upset. And then on top
Hmm.
of that, they decided to be rude. And so it was just this compounding like issue of just terrible, terrible PR, and they just kind of ruined the whole thing for themselves. And there are a lot of games that are doing this now too. There are a lot of games that are like totally screwing themselves over. Like like recently when Diablo 4, or what, it wasn't Diablo 4, it was Diablo Immortal, I think, was
Hmm.
announced. They announced it for mobile only at like a PC convention or something. which
Yeah,
which
that's
is
funny.
it's so stupid. And then on top of that, they had the nerve to be like, "What, you guys don't have phones?" It was like, "Yeah, we have phones, but we didn't want it on a phone."
Exactly.
And
Phone
then they try to
exclusives
cover
too.
themselves. It's pitiful, man. It's like these companies have like a disconnect with what their fans want. It's almost like it's a company where the guys doing all the talking and all the business decisions and stuff are like
Hmm.
people that have never played any game in the series ever and don't care about it. That's kind of how it
That's
feels.
probably true. That's probably true, actually.
It's there's so much weird disconnect. And like you mentioned earlier, there's Silent Hills. The whole issue with that, like they're freaking
Hmm.
stupid for getting rid of Kojima. Honestly, um, like the fact that they canned that whole project is just insanely mind-blowingly stupid, considering how
There's
much
a
love it
reason,
got.
for sure, but there's a reason they got rid of Kojima.
Yeah, I get that, right? But like, man, for the sake of money, I would have at least tried to make it work anyway. I would have like been paying people extra to stay in the project, you know, all that kind of stuff. Because that game would have made tons of money, like stupid money.
Um, I think they already knew that the game is gonna blow up based on everything Kojima has created. There's so many reasons that they didn't want him to work in the company anymore. It's because he never wanted to work on a Metal Gear game to begin with. So when he was forced to make a game that
Hmm.
he didn't exactly want it to make, uh, he wanted to also create a different game at the same time, which made the game not as great. I think Metal Gear 5 was a really good game, but I think it lacked so much that it felt empty.
It
Like
it
the
feels
gameplay
it
was
feels
great.
unfinished, is how it
It does
feels.
feel unfinished, and it actually was unfinished
It feels damn close
because
to perfect, but it feels like somebody just stopped developing it at some point and like just barely kept it from being a 10, you know?
yeah, well, here's the thing. Um, People usually do this. They make a game. You
Hmm.
know, they make the grass, the floor, pretty much everything that makes a game, right? They make the gameplay, and then they add the cutscenes that make sense why the gameplay is this way. So this is why I feel like the game is unfinished. Like they created the game with so many missions, so many things to do, but
Hmm.
then it doesn't have any cutscenes. And if you remember the old Metal Gear games, they had cutscenes that were so long. It can last for like one cutscene would go up to 20 minutes. It's
Yeah, they're pretty
crazy.
famous for
And then
that.
right now in this game, it had only like six cutscenes or something. So obviously everybody was like, "Wow, like I can't believe it." And when I played, I was really surprised too that that happened. But anyway, going back to why they got rid of Kojima, it's because he wanted to make like kind of a dreamy type game. You know, he's actually obsessed with movies. Everybody knows him being really obsessed with movies. So he brought in um, the guy from The Walking Dead. I forgot his name. Uh, Norman Reedus. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's his name. He brought him, and he's popular for making what is it called, The Walking Dead.
Hmm.
So he obviously needs to put a budget for that. You know, famous person in a video game. You got to pay a lot for that. And I've noticed this in the Japanese gaming industry, is that if the game doesn't bring money and like 1 year at least, they would call it a fail and they would continue to make different games. And this is why I don't know if you notice this, but with Yakuza games, they make one after the other, and they keep going that way the whole time. But
Yeah.
the thing is, they already know what they're doing, and they did the statistics, and they know exactly that it's gonna be success in Japan, and they don't really care about success in worldwide until recently. So Konami did not count that, and they know that they're gonna lose a lot of money because of Kojima, because he wanted to bring famous people. Because you notice right now on Death Stranding, he has so many people that are famous in it, so many. So they obviously paid a lot for that, but it's not Konami, so it doesn't really matter. So that's probably one of the main reasons why they got rid of him, because he's wasting a lot of money for the
Probably.
production. So yeah.
I'm just saying though, like even if you couldn't keep the same people on the project, I would have at least like tried to get somebody close or like somebody similar. I know that's weird to say because it's Kojima, right? And he does things very differently. But I don't know, like at least get the people from the older Silent Hill games on board at least and like have them work on it or something. I don't know. But like to scrap the whole thing as if it was like irreparable is stupid to me because the game itself didn't have anything to go off already. Like it was just a silly little teaser of like what it could be kind of like, and it was really good. And all they really had
Mm.
to deliver was a Silent Hill game in that engine. It didn't matter if it had anything to do with that teaser or not. They could have gone any direction with it. They could have done anything with the story. The point is, people wanted a Silent Hill game that looked and played like that. And the fact that they just canned the whole thing and didn't even try to make it work without them is really weird to me. I mean, I'm sure there was some business reason why they didn't, but from like just a fan standpoint, it just doesn't make sense. And I feel like if companies had more transparency about these kinds of things, I feel like we could be a lot more forgiving toward them. But the fact that they just
Hmm.
don't ever tell us what actually happened just keeps everybody mad at them and feeling like they're stupid. Because the next thing that they did was release Metal Gear Survive, a game that nobody cared about, nobody really wanted, and it didn't really sell that much.
Exactly.
And now Metal
Wait,
Gear is kind
actually,
of dead.
it did sell, but not a lot.
Well, yeah,
It
of
did sell a
course.
few numbers.
I mean, of course it's gonna sell because it's got the Metal Gear name on there, and it's got zombies, and it's. I mean, it's like there's appealing things about it.
Hmm.
Um, it just didn't sell probably the way that they would want it to. You know, that's all I mean. Like,
Yes.
it didn't sell for like a Metal Gear game.
Hmm. For sure. And it's kind of funny because, like you would normally expect a company to not make as good of a product when it comes to a game that's on a portable device, like a PSP or
Hmm.
something similar to that. But surprisingly, the PSP game was actually one of the best, if not the best, Metal Gear they made. And then when it comes to the on the PS4, it's kind of like effortless. Despite the fact that it was a good game, it wasn't enough. And they did not want to continue. Uh, I'm speaking of Konami. they did not want to continue to be great. They don't have the passion. They don't have anything. They're not really passionate about making games. They just want money, and that's it. So right now, most of their games are actually playable in like bars and casinos and stuff like that. Um, and they're not really on consoles anymore. It's just like an arcade machine thing. They call them something in Japan. I cannot recall the name, but it's like an arcade machine,
Yeah,
and that's it. That's pretty much it.
I think I sort of almost get what you're talking about.
Mm.
I don't know. I mean, we've been all over on topics and stuff, so.
Yeah,
Because,
pleasure. There's one problem is that
yeah.
I'm not I'm not of a great multitasker, and I was trying so bad to play and keep
No,
on
that's cool.
topic. And it's just kind of horrible.
No,
But
I
yeah,
mean,
no worries.
I was doing the same thing, so it's fine.
Mm.
I'm just not good at
Well,
like conversation in general, to be honest.
that's all right.
I think
Well, better
ultimately,
luck next time.
yeah, I think ultimately what these podcasts will be is basically just like two opinionated gamers that are friends, just kind of like talking about random things. So,
Mm. Yeah,
so,
better say
so
it that
it's
way.
fine. No worries, man. It was nice, and hopefully we'll have another one here soon. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
And thanks for having me.
Yep. All right. I'm gonna go
All
ahead
right.
and exit out of this if I can figure out how the hell to get out. Goodbye. Goodbye, people. Thanks for watching.